Cheers. Welcome back. Yours truly, GM Clemello, Smooth Clem FM, coming at you live from the undisclosed location. That is the Smooth Clem Studios, where all the magic happens. It's the first official podcast for the 2022-2023 NSL year. It's been a while. I've enjoyed the time off. I think it's about time that I get back on the bandwagon and get the show rolling. And what better way to do that than drop a pod on the airwaves and just get some get some thoughts out there. Of course, we're, as always, as tradition, on the cans. Neds, mate. Fucking Neds. Doesn't get more Aussie than that, I say. But yeah, we'll just hushing that up a little bit, and we can get into it. Where do we start? There's been a whole laundry list of massive trades that have happened, not just recently, but all throughout the off season. Some big names being moved, and really love to see it. Really love to see the a lot of GMs being active, a lot of GMs pulling the trigger and really utilising the assets they have available to them, and what they've worked hard to put together, and for this exact reason, to make a move and slowly work your way up the pecking order, or down the pecking order, so to speak. But look, we'll touch on all that later on, but in true fashion, we'll touch on everything Kings, of course. This is the Kings podcast, repping J Will, smooth white chocolate, my hero. But look, we are in the same studios, where all the magic happens, as mentioned before. But just to give you a bit of a tour around the new refurbished, redecorated and remodeled Smooth Clem Studios. LED lighting, retro throwbacks. These things are priceless, just hanging off the walls. Even got sort of custom logo and mural there, done by yours truly. It's not quite done yet, but it's a work in progress. Thought I'd give you a bit of a tease, but yeah, it is coming up nice. Got that real Vice City vibes, and of course got some legends hanging there. The mixed corner, if you didn't see it before, and all this stuff's just laid out like this normally. Didn't have to really do much, of course, but just like to get amongst it, just immerse myself with everything ball related, just so I can pump out the gold for you, fine fellows and lass, of course. But enough lollygagging. We'll be here all night if you let me go on one of my rants. So we'll touch on things all Kings related, of course. Won't spend too much time on it. Don't want to bore you. But just a bit of an update heading into free agency. Look, we've got 8 to 9 guys that are on the books currently. Vooch, Westbrook, Buddy, Crowder, Malik Beasley, Matthews, Riches, and extending the qualifying offer to Broderick as well. So I've made it quite apparent on the Discord chats, and obviously I wouldn't be keeping Kyle Anderson's 18 million plus cap hold on the books for no reason other than the fact he's the number one priority. And then obviously we hope to pick up a few useful rotation guys, with the full MLE, and obviously just sort of round out the roster with vet min type guys. So we might be picking up, or hopefully picking up, 4 to 5 guys on the day. So we'll see. When it's all said and done, if everything goes loosely to plan, we'll head into the season sitting around, look, best case scenario, sort of 8 to 12 million under the hard cap, which is where I want to be. Last couple of seasons I've been towing the line, so to speak, and it's been a challenge to be able to maneuver and really get value in a lot of deals when you're riding the hard cap and so easily leverage in pretty much every deal and yeah, always generally means you giving up value just so you can make deals work and or cut some salary. So not about that life. Like to keep it fast and loose, free and easy. So if we could stay away from that dreaded hard cap, that'd be nice, but we'll see. Things might change. The whole plan might go out the window. You know, at the drop of a hat, you know everything, Kings. So, but yeah, look, I think that we will go well in free agency. There's a lot of solid names on some reasonable contracts that fall under the full MLE amount, which is around about sort of 10.1 million. So there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to both utilize the cap space or have the cap space available, aren't already focused on their own targets, retaining guys or going after guys that you know, suit their team a little bit better. And there's going to be a good amount of teams that are going to be having to make those sort of hard decisions when it comes to cutting cap and sort of managing that. So I think there's going to be a fair few sort of guys that I'm targeting available on the day, but we'll see. Can't overthink it or overplan it too much, because I at least personally tend to get locked into yeah, certain directions and certain guys I'm going after, and if that doesn't go my way, things tend to spiral. So I always keep it pretty you know, fast and loose, just try and jump on opportunities when they come. With that being said, though, yeah, I mean, I'm going through the guys that I think are sort of on most people's radars, you know, mentioning the sort of the big names or good rotation guys I was touching on before. You know, guys like Monk, Rubio, you know, DeLon Wright, Bruce Brown Jr., Ingles, Montrezl Harrell, you know, Otto Porter, etc. And then there's obviously going to be some guys that on the day sort of drop to everyone's surprise, or most people's surprise. So yeah, I'm pretty keen to see what happens on the day. It's always gets the blood pumping, or at least for myself. So all right, moving on. We'll see what happens you know, when the day comes with that one. But touching on a couple of trades that we've done recently, just to sort of say my piece on them, but also maybe offer some insight, just talk it out. And yeah, I'm never going to shy away from talking trades. So the first one was the most recent with J-Mac. It's a bit of a pick swap. We tended to just, I don't even mean to do it, and it's probably honestly, it's probably J-Mac just low-key sort of, you know, fucking sharking me every year, just knowing that I'm really loose with my picks, and knowing he can just dangle a little bit of a carrot, you know, in front of me, and you know, I'll just be like, oh, fuck it, yeah, let's go. But the deal was, I sent out my 2023 Portland first, my 2025 Charlotte first, and my 2027 Kings pick, which I'd only just obtained. So might be setting some new personal records there with how quickly I was able to ship that pick out. But yeah, I'm not going to be bragging about that one, but it did see me get my 2024 pick back, a 2026 Portland first, and a, you know, dub second, and some, you know, a good chunk of GMs just to sort of help me get through free agency upcoming. Admittedly, I'm a bit dirty or ashamed of myself that I wasn't as active with participation and articles and things like that, podcasts during the year, which sort of left me in a position that I would go for trading off picks for GMs. I'm normally the guy that you know, is on the other side of that, and normally don't let myself get swayed with points when I'm dealing picks, because points always come so easy. So admittedly, that's my own fault, I guess. But other than that, I actually think that I've come out not so much a winner, but I've come out, with a lot of sort of positives in that deal. Whereas the initial sort of, I guess, reaction at the time was that, just another sort of, I guess, shanking by J-Mac, of course, like just make, the rich get richer. And actually, inside scoop, that deal was nixed at least once or twice when we put it to, the league, and for whatever reason, they decided at the time, look, we're not really sort of happy with that, and then we had to make a few adjustments where J-Mac gave a little bit more, and then eventually we got it through. But look, from my perspective, I got my 2024 first back, so I essentially moved my 2027 first, bring it forward a few years, and it comes in time. The timing of it is quite nice because I've got next year to sort of see how things go in the first few weeks with the whole Westbrook, Vooch experiment. And then I'm able to, if I do need to, I'm going to be able to move a few guys on expiring contracts and sort of game plan for the 2024 year. And when I say game plan, I mean just put myself in a good position to just, build my team further, whatever the means. So, but by all means, I'm not meaning purposely losing games, because that's deplorable. But yeah, we won't touch on that. We won't go on with that too much. Just, PS, that 2023 first for Portland I gave back to him. There are pick swap rights on that, which the Golden State Warriors do own. So he's pretty much going to be getting picked, I don't know, what, 29, 30, 27 next year. 2025 Charlotte pick, which is going to be in the prime years of Luka. Creighton's never going to be doing anything but trying to win games. And obviously, that 2027 Kings pick, admittedly, it could be something, but we'll see. I'd be doing everything in my power not to be giving J-Mac just another high lottery pick off the back of my my faults, I guess. So had to struggle for the words there. Not to sort of build J-Mac up too much, and just so I could sleep easy at night. But okay, and the next one. This was a deal where I saw myself send out Jermichael Green, Timmy Hardaway Jr., and Jose Alvarado, and my 2027 second, and getting back Crowder and Beasley. Just made sense. I sort of needed some sort of decent guard or backup guard minutes, which is the idea behind getting Beasley, who could also play a bit of three if I need. And Crowder's just insurance for, at the time, getting Crowder was insurance for whatever happens with Anderson and or Otto Porter. So Crowder can play the 3-4. Worst case scenario, I bomb out on Anderson and don't get a solid two-way wing who could play the 3 or 4. I've got Crowder there if I need. And Beasley's still young. I think he's going to get you would imagine he's going to get an increased role or a better, more defined role playing for Utah, opposed to Minnesota, where he was sort of buried there with all their young guys. And all I sort of sent out was Timmy Hardaway Jr., who, look, I love him. He just spent the last sort of half the season out, and it's it's not a serious injury, but it's not nothing, sort of thing. I believe he's 30 or just pushing it, and I don't necessarily think he's overpaid, but he is on the higher tier of salary in terms of those sort of like 2-3 men who can shoot the 3 ball and sort of defend pretty well. So I was happy to get back Crowder on expiring to sort of help me with this season's endeavours, but also is a solid sort of trade chip or salary filler down the line. Beasley, with still a little bit of upside. I think I'm a lot higher on him than most people, but yeah, he's a good guard with size, has a few badges as well, so he's at least a solid bench contributor. So I'm happy to do that, especially when I got Alvarado, who, look, he ended up being one of my sort of favourites, especially going into the postseason, just with his hustle and just sort of attitude and grit. But look, I got him on a two-way off the waivers, so really it was Timmy Hardaway Jr., which was pretty much a bit of a salary dump on a previous deal, and a guy I got off the waivers, and I get back Beasley and Crowder, so I'm pretty happy with that. The next one, moving on, was the big deal. It's been touched on ad nauseum, the Westbrook deal, setting out Lowry and a few other pieces, Favors and Curry, and getting back Westbrook. A lot of people thought it was an overpay. I'm slowly making that sort of, I think, buy low sort of type deal for a guy who has some high upside, at least in game. He might have a career year and sort of really try and play for a long-term contract in the NBA. And I would imagine he's probably going to end up on a different team other than the Lakers by season's end. So he might just put up some bullshit numbers, try and secure a deal. And but either way, I sort of see, at least the short term, that being favourable for myself, especially when I'm giving up Lowry, who's in game. He's got his limitations. He was on a couple of years, so there was some sort of real risk there with him just being a $30 million paperweight, sitting on the bench, and yeah, he's had his issues with health and whatnot. Whereas Westbrook, even at this stage of his career, is a lot more available. So look, I was happy to make that move. I feel he's still, even though 2K has nerfed him quite a fair bit, I still think that he's a lock for sort of top 60, top 70 production at the very least. I'm happy to give that up for what I gave up in the deal. All right, moving on. I want to touch on a segment that is just rises and fallers. Nothing new. I'm sure you're all sort of pretty switched on with what this segment might be, but we're just going to be going through a handful of teams in both conferences that I've sort of picked out, that I'm going to be really watching, coming into the next season. Whether it be, of course, that they're going to be going up the standings, really improving their position when compared to this past season, or just sort of spiraling down, whether it's self-inflicted or by the grand plan or the process of it, just so they can game plan for years to come, which I don't blame them, looking at a few of the moves that have been going on with some of those already well and truly contending teams. But look, we'll launch straight into it, and let's see, which conference should we start with? Look, we'll go with the East. I think they've got a few teams that I really want to sort of touch on, but the first team being Knicks, old mate Smokey. Last season they had a record of 31-51. That was due to sort of trades that were made with the intention of not typically winning too many games, but also they had some health issues, and really last season was just a season in a constant state of flux for the Knicks. So I think they've really sort of found their team now, were patient, made the moves that needed to be made in the off season, and of course in true Smokey fashion, he's just completely turned this ship around. They brought in Butler, Christian Wood, Hart, TJ McConnell and Jakob Poeltl, which, obviously Butler speaks for himself. Wood, I really like him. Even just absolute basement version of Wood in game is money. You got Hart, who, as a guy, I think, especially on a team as stacked as this, is not going to put up the same kind of impact or numbers in game that he will in the NBA. I feel like in the NBA, he's actually probably primed to have a bit of a breakout year, maybe some, like low-key sort of most improved buzz about Hart. He really finished out the season strong last year, but for the Knicks, he'll just be a solid role guy, a guy that they can play off the bench or even start him at the 3 or the 2 if they need. TJ, solid backup, as good a backup point guard that you're going to get in game. And Jakob Poeltl, he's a great, really solid rotational big who you could start if you needed to, and you wouldn't really lose too much sleep over that one. But I'm projecting them to just have a monster year on the back of it, that Hydra, Butler. Well, I mean, you could say Capella, Butler, and Kawhi is a big 3, but Wood could be putting up some serious numbers for him, and they've just got a really nice deep team. But I think they're going to be a top 5 defensive team with Capella and the 2 monster wings that they've got. Also TJ off the bench, he's a nice defender, and they've just got a lot of size and athleticism, pretty much at every position. They'll be right up there with some of the best rebounding teams in the league as well, I think, and their defense, I wouldn't be surprised if it's top 5, top 8, or even better. So I think they're going to be making some big jumps and might be flirting with top four out east. So the world is Smokey's oyster, as always. The other team I was looking at east in terms of teams that are really going to make a big leap is the Hawks. And for obvious reason, they've gone from a lottery-bound team or a lottery-dwelling team, and they've brought in Lillard, Pascal, Siakam, Kobe White, and Isaiah Stewart. They can still make some moves, setting out a first or 2. And last season they finished on 21 wins, 61 losses. And look, I'd be thinking they're flirting with that sort of 7th to 10th range, and probably sitting about sort of 500, maybe even a couple wins above 500, 43 wins maybe. So yeah, good on Benny for the moves he's made, and I always love to see those sort of young teams make the next push to try and just sort of solidify their team as a contender to come. So now on the flip side of things out east, teams that I think are gonna really sort of struggle or put up some results that are far and away from what they did in this past season. And the first one being Sheed and his Pistons. He just sent out his elite front court in Bam and Gobert, and look, from as far as I'm concerned, a little bit of a questionable trade. I think Toronto did win that, and I'm just not too sure what Sheed's banking on when you're looking at the inconsistency of Kyrie, and although I think Donovan Mitchell will do really well playing for the Cavs in the NBA, they've gone from one of the most elite big teams with size, just such elite size at most positions, and now they're just looking really small and just really undermanned. So last season they put up 60 wins, 22 losses, and I think they'd be lucky to be sitting 500 next season. 41, 42 wins. Maybe they're sort of playing for a plane. Who knows? But you got Robert Williams, who's going to be missing the start of the season, and I'm just really not hopeful about what I'm hearing out of the Boston camp in terms of his knee and everything. So, and they're not going to be rushing him at all. They just want him for come playoff time. So I wouldn't be surprised if Williams is sitting out till late January, February maybe. Kyrie is obviously always going to miss his 15 to 20 games on a good day. So they might even sort of put up sort of mid-30s, the Pistons there. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'll just out of respect, I'll give them the 500 nod, despite everything I just said. So The next one, moving along, is the Bulls, and I think this will be more so self-inflicted, just because I think Mauricio sees the writing on the wall. Yeah, pun not intended, but of course the situation of John Wall now signing with the Clippers just makes it really hard for him to really sort of hit the ground running next season, and sort of it may be the smarter decision to move one of either Beal or AD. Roll the dice with Wall if you get him, so what? Great. If you don't, then you've got other options. But they do have their 2023 pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mauricio just takes the foot off the gas, takes a strategic sort of year off, and comes back with either with a nice young gun alongside Beal and AD, and just builds from there, or whatever assets he's able to get back from either one or both. And maybe we're seeing Mauricio in a few years' time being the next, or one of the next young and upcoming teams. So if anyone can do it, Mauricio can. So I do think we're going to be seeing the Bulls next season probably around about the mid-20s, 24, 25, 26 wins. And yeah, it just really depends on what they do with those deals, because if they only deal one of either Beal or AD, I just think one of them guys and some decent players is going to just have you fall into 20 wins no matter what, especially out east. There's a lot of easy teams to just crawl over the finish line night in and night out. But it'd be interesting to see which team would end up winning the AD or Beal sweepstakes. A couple of teams I was looking at, just to throw some names out there: Boston, Bucks, Minnesota, Memphis, or New Orleans. They've all got pieces, can all put together a pretty decent package for either one of those guys. And I think all those teams would be wanting to make another move just to sort of move up the ranks and try and solidify their team, that sort of next tier or that upper tier of teams really contending for the title. So we'll see. I'll be really interested to see if either Boston or I guess Boston or sort of Memphis can nab AD or Beal and just to pair them with their sort of star guys. So we'll see. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with that. Moving out west. All right, we'll touch on a couple teams, same as before, that I think are going to be making some leaps and strides this upcoming season. The first one being the Pels. El Capitan Leroy is look, I think it's been touched on. I don't need to go over it again, but he got a bit of didn't get a fair shake of the tail, I think, last season for whatever reason, injuries, just engine issues with his team makeup, or I don't know, maybe he just couldn't sort of figure it out, or it just wasn't his year. Just a whole list of things I think went against his team, but it happens. I think they'll be bouncing back this year. And even though they did have a pretty respectable run home last season and finished with 47 wins, I think they're going to be really flirting with those high 50s, maybe even pushing 60 wins next season, and we might see the same kind of output that we saw from them just a couple seasons ago with pretty much the same team. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Obviously, Jar's going to be an absolute animal in game. Even more so, they do underrated sort of part of all this is that they are loaded with picks, and they could move up to 4, 5, 6 firsts in any sort of deal, just to hence me sort of putting them on the short list with teams associated with the possible sort of AD or Beal trade with the Bulls. Leroy could really put something together that would I just don't think Mauricio could say no to. So I think they're going to be well and truly up there with the sort of top 3, top 4, alongside the two Titans and one of either Memphis or Minnesota. So keen to see that, and yeah, it'd be good to see the Pels back up there. The other one being the Lakers. Now, this could go either way, but either way, I think they still rattle off get more wins than 8, which is what their record was last year, 8 wins and 74 losses, which is crazy. I think even if for a good part of the season they're not really trying their hardest to get those dubs, I still think they're probably going to be sitting sort of 25, 26, 27, 28 wins. They brought in Randall, Zinger and Quickly, and they do have a few firsts, and they can sort of fire off in a deal if they need to, depending on how they go for the first sort of bit of the season. I think they've still got all their own picks as far as I'm aware. I'm not trying to really say that they're trying to make a move, so to speak, but they're slowly climbing their way up, and they're probably one more big piece away from sort of threatening that the bottom of the sort of top 8. I think. Moving along to I really sort of struggled to sort of pick any other teams out west that were sort of really going to make a massive drop. Everyone's sort of either progressively gotten sort of slowly better, just with the sort of young guys developing and sort of just drafting whoever they might have drafted, and etc. And there's really only one team that's going to make a significant drop off from what they were last season, and that's the Clippers. For obvious reason, they traded Giannis, but they pulled the pin on the Giannis hype train, and for whatever reason felt having the best guy in game wasn't going to really get them anywhere long term in terms of winning fantasy basketball. But look, I always try my hardest to reserve judgment, especially on a deal where it's an established star being sent out for future assets. You just never know. We look back on so many of these deals, in hindsight, a couple of years later, and some of them turn out to be pretty horrendous. In terms of the side of the guy who actually got the established star. So we'll just wait and see. But yeah, looking at their sort of roster, I sort of feel if you're going to be shipping off Giannis, and you're not going to be half-assing it, you're going to be moving any other established veteran you might have that doesn't fit your timeline. And look, Sabonis is 26, RJ Barrett, he's my boy, he's 22. Got nothing bad to say about that bloke, but they're pretty young, but they just don't have a sort of another star that's on that sort of same timeline. So I just feel they're going to be playing the lottery game for a couple of years to come. They've got 3 firsts next year, the 2023 draft, including their own, but the other 2 being Philly and Spurs. So look, nothing to sort of write home to about those 2 picks there, but it's still 2 more guys that are going to come in, and you would hope that they turn into something or anything at least. And they've done well not to ship off any of their own picks for the next sort of 3 to 4 years. So they've got options. So we'll see what happens with the Clippers. But other than that, I think the West has just gotten stronger overall. It's going to be even more of a bloodbath than what it was last season. It's not going to be fun, really. I think I've just gotten Westbrook solely just to maybe pump out 3 or 4 more wins than what I did last season. Maybe if I'm lucky, I get a second chance in the play-in. But look, if I'm there at the end, then big picture, that's all I really care about. Really, I just don't have the patience to play the long game. Much prefer to go out guns blazing, hashtag all in, all bust, than just sort of play the long game and just sort of check in, check out whenever I feel like, and just sort of, coast along like I'm a bit of a ghost ship in a league that is so great, and a league that I'm more than willing to contribute to and be a part of. look, I think we might wrap it up at that. It's been a while. I need to get some sleep, get up for work tomorrow nice and early. But it's been a pleasure to get back on the podcast waves and drop this for you fine fellas and lass. But for now, I'll sign out. This is Smooth Clem FM. Glad to be back. Catch you next time.